Hello and welcome to the We Ball Podcast. I'm Luke Crumage. Joining me, as always, is my main man Tyler DeSena. And we're going to get right into it because the college football season is upon us. There are no more Saturdays without college football for the rest of 2023. And that makes me happy. Tyler, I know that makes you happy. So we're going to talk about some guys who you need to know going into this year. How are we doing this morning, Tyler?
I'm doing good. Obviously, like you said, college football season, we don't have another Saturday without college football for a long time. We don't have, coming up soon, we're not going to have Sundays without NFL football for a while. There's a lot of sports and a lot of football coming up, so it's going to be fun. And like you said, you've compiled a list of guys that you really want to see. Got a lot of your scouting done on these guys, and I'm excited to hear about, who they are, what the gist is of these players and why we need to be watching them this season. So I'll intro you a little bit here. I know you've got a couple cornerbacks on this list, and I'm going to kind of group them together and kind of just let you go on a tangent. I know you've got one of your guys, and then you've got a couple other guys from different schools. So I'm just going to kind of let you cook here. Who are these guys? What do we need to be looking out for? And why are these guys you're really excited about?
So I am going to go from least known to most known here on these cornerbacks, which means I'm starting with one Micah Abraham from Marshall. I need everyone to go back. You don't even listen. If you're not a scouting person, you're just like, oh, I like to follow the draft person. Just go watch Bro's highlights. He is a ball hawk. Nickname is the Iceman, so that automatically gives you a bump, at least a little bit, because that's hard. Um, he probably could have gone out, been a really late round pick, but he went back. He's only 5'10", right? But the closing speed's there. Like that NFL closing speed, NFL athleticism, his jumping ability is off the charts. Like he gets up. Um, but I think the most underrated part of his game is you could see it at the end of last year. That Marshall defense, they were very up and down. He was very consistent. He slowly and slowly got more mentally with it and read plays better, read the ball better in the air. He went from just beating you by being a pure athlete to beating you mentally, physically, in every way in one season during the season, which to me is really impressive and shows sky high potential. Like if you're improving that fast mid-season, I want to know what you can do with the whole NFL offseason. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're able to see like a guy who we hear about this with NFL players like taking these jumps and you're like, "Oh, maybe they're off to a slow start," and then by the end of the season, you see where they could like where they ended up being. If you're able to take that jump in season and then on the off season kind of work on technique and, all the stuff that doesn't necessarily require the live game, then you're ahead of 99% of guys.
Yeah, I mean, he flips his hips well. He does cross his feet a little bit, which could be a problem, but it hasn't been thus far. And it's not like he's going up against nobodies. Like he's still in a decent conference and he's going up against guys who some of them will make the NFL, some of them won't. Um, but he's always on the number one. Like there was never a time he wasn't shadowing the number one for an entire game. And being able to shadow a number one for an entire game in college, I don't care who you're up against, it's impressive because shadowing a player it sucks. Like if you're a DB, you know that it's not fun. And shadowing a number one is even worse because if they're throwing him the ball, it means you're not doing your job well. And if they're not throwing him the ball, you're always on alert for that deep ball, that shot play, that one play you mess up, and then the whole game gets blown wide open. But he was
Yeah.
able to
And
handle that pressure and be a leader on that defense, which was really cool.
yeah, and another thing about being a corner, as you were saying, if they're throwing you the ball, then you're not doing your job well. If they're not throwing you the ball, most of the time, if they're throwing the ball at you, that means that you're gonna hear your name, and it's gonna be the only time you can really hear your name is in a bad sense. And then if you're locking down a side of the field, or in this case, a specific guy, and they're not throwing the ball your way, a lot of times you're not going to get that press and recognition that you deserve because nobody's hearing your name on the call for the game. And it comes down to those people that are like, actually putting in the work, studying film and getting stuff out there for you to actually get any sort of press or recognition. So that obviously is a good thing if you're not getting thrown at, but at the same time, there's some downsides there.
moving on. I had to throw a Rutgers guy in there. Um, some not very bright people online have called him a hidden gem. He is not. He is well known in NFL circles, scouting communities. I was at the Rutgers Pro Day last year, and the scouts were bummed that he wasn't coming out. Like that says something to me when at a pro day for your teammates, scouts are like, man, I really wish this person would have came out, and this person is Max Melton. Um, listen, he's an athletic corner, another athletic corner. I think I'm starting to become more of an athletic corner type of guy, which I wasn't. I was always a very cerebral corner type of guy, but I know that the upside's there. And the reason why I think Max Melton is going to be successful no matter where he gets drafted is because of his special teams value. He's one of the best special teams players I've ever seen, whether it's coverage, gunning, like it doesn't matter. He is incredible and it will get him on an NFL roster. Like he doesn't have to worry about staying on a roster as long as he continues to work hard on special teams. It's what he's good at. Um, but he's slowly becoming a legit like number one corner in the Big Ten. He has really tough matchups every single week, except for when they play Iowa. But you know, that
Yeah.
was necessary. That was necessary because they don't
Sure.
throw the ball, and their number one receiver was taking dives because of he was betting on the games. So I'm just saying, like, moving on. He has tough
Yeah.
matchups every week, and he's doing as well as he can with a limited defense. Like Rutgers was not great last year. Hopefully, they're better this year. Now that I'm there, obviously all because of me. But
Of course.
I just, it's very much the Max Melton show on that defense. Um, and I'm excited to see what he can do this year. Like that's really it. He needs to be more cerebral and that he can run step for step with anyone. That's really it. Like he's just athletic and great on special teams, and it's gonna get him on a roster.
Oh yeah, and I mean that's the biggest thing with corners is you see it every year that there's usually one or two corners who get drafted higher than people expect because of the fact that they have that skill set where they can play special teams and just have the potential to run with guys and they're like, yeah, we can coach the football instincts or higher football IQ, whatever it is that you want to put in this player. A lot of coaching staffs believe they can do it. And with a lot of different coaching staffs in the NFL that are, you know, running like zone coverages where you're able to kind of like be in a scenario where you can kind of gamble a little bit and make those plays. I think there are a lot of guys or a lot of coaches who want just like a super athletic freak type of a guy to play. And that's what Max Melton is. So I know you have one more cornerback here. And I know this is one of your guys. Of course, this is a list of your guys, but this is a guy for multiple reasons. So break down Terry and Arnold and tell me why this is the last corner you chose for this list.
Man, okay, listen. He came in to a stacked cornerback room at Alabama, right? A few years ago. Now he's going to be a senior. He's hardworking. He worked from literally one of the bottom people on the depth chart. Beat out Kyrie Jackson, who's now at Oregon. He made that boy transfer. Beat out a whole bunch of other people. There's 5 stars always nipping on his heels. And he's just hardworking. And now he's the guy opposite Kool-Aid who is going to be in charge of a side of the field. Like that's how Alabama runs it, where these two guys are in charge of a side of the field. These slot guys, your star, your whatever, they're all in charge of this inner part. Your linebackers step up and you just let the boys eat. And then your safeties are your safeties. They play two safeties almost all the time, which one of them is going to be named Devontae Smith, spelt the same way. And he's probably going to start, which is nuts. And the other one will be a 5-star true freshman. So the Alabama defense is going to be very interesting, especially in that secondary, because Devontae Smith has only taken secondary or special team snaps. Um, Terry Arnold and Kool-Aid are lockdown corners. And then Caleb Downs has never taken a college snap. That is their secondary. And then maybe Malachi Moore, who every year people talk about as the next guy, and he's never anything really. Um, like I think he's a great dude. Don't think he's a great football player. If he was freshman year Malachi Moore, he'd be great. Back to Arnold. Arnold is a really good ball playing corner. Not necessarily like a ball hawk, but will he's just good with his hands in the air. Like he's not going to catch every single ball that comes his way, but he's going to make sure it's hard for you to catch every single ball that comes his way. He gets the brunt of the targets against Alabama because Kool-Aid is so locked down. And people are like, we're not throwing at Kool-Aid. Okay, but then we have to throw at Arnold, and it creates this weird, like, I don't want to say it's a forced targeting of Arnold, or they have to work in the slot all game, which nobody wants to do against Alabama because their
Yeah.
linebackers will murder you. Um, so he's raw, he's talented, he's hardworking, he's fluid mover though. Like you don't see guys who are as raw as him with as much talent as he can have, who are this fluid. Like fluidity is something that comes with time and effort and practices and reps, and he just has it. Like I think that's what makes him so interesting and why I'm so high on him, because he's a fluid mover and you don't have to work on that. You can work on the cerebral stuff. You can work on, you know, his hand placement, but his hand placement's good, so you don't really have to. Like there's not much to work on, but there's so much upside to make him a number one, even though he's a number two right now. And I think in the NFL, he could be like one of the only true number two corners, because a lot of teams just have two number ones. We talked about this a little bit, me and you off camera. Um, he could be like a true number two corner, or he could be a low end number one who's going to make a wide receiver's, day hell when they're the number two wide receiver and he's across from a guy who's like highest paid in the NFL. So that's my piece on Arnold. I think he's going to really show people that he's the guy this year. And he's going to be one of those guys who's getting his name called a lot, but not because he's bad, because the offense has no choice but to throw at him.
Attention, fantasy football fanatics. As draft season approaches, don't neglect the most important draft pick of all, your game balls. We all know how injuries can ruin a season, so let Manscaped take care of that Reggie Bush of yours with their skin safe technology. That should guarantee you to have a smooth ride into the playoffs. The leaders in the below the waist grooming have created a championship lineup with their Performance Package 4.0, and it's time for you to do the same. Join the 9 million men around the world who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping when you use code WEBALL. We all know that confidence is the biggest thing, whether it comes to recording a podcast, interviewing professional athletes, playing on the field, or even trimming below the waist. And for that last one, Manscaped has helped out tremendously with their Performance Package 4.0. Inside the Performance Package 4.0, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance Boxer briefs, and even a travel bag. Slotted at quarterback, we've got the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. This spaceship is here to guide you on your journey to trim your body, balls, and even your A-gap. This fourth generation trimmer also features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multi-function on-off switch that can engage in a travel lock, and is even waterproof. The Lawnmower 4.0 also has a 4000K LED spotlight, brighter than Bryce Young's future in the end zone. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker, the ultimate flex. Watch it run through your ear and nose hairs like Aaron Donald runs through to sack your favorite quarterback. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses 9,000 RPM motor powered 360 degree rotary dual blade system. This ear and nose hair trimmer provides proprietary skin safe technology, which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs in those sensitive ear and nose holes. Don't forget to use the Crop Preserver ball deodorant and the Crop Reviver to help your little bench warmers be on their A game while feeling the sun's heat. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to the Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. So who's the commissioner now? Get 20% off plus free shipping with code WEBALL at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code WEBALL, WEBALL, at manscaped.com. It's time to put the PP back in PPR and get a grip on your pigskin this season with Manscaped. Yeah, and number two corners. I mean, there is a huge market in the NFL. There are so many teams with number one guys who are like the flat out number one, and then they're fighting to find out who their number two corner is. I mean, a prime example of this is literally the Dolphins right now with, without Jalen Ramsey. Xavier Howard is clearly now the number one, and now they're fighting to find a number two. Cornerback depth is huge. Alabama's produced number two corners who have been absolute ballers in the past. Levi Wallace comes to mind as like him across from Tre'Davious White, just like both of them shutting down when they were both like in their primes of their careers. And if Terry Arnold can be even, that caliber of player like Levi Wallace was, as like one of the top end number twos in the league, like Wallace was for a long time, then there are so many teams who are going to be in the market for that. You have two wide receivers on this list. I'm going to start with the first one that's on my list here. And I know that this is a team that you've been looking a lot at. I know that this is a guy that you're really excited about. So tell me about Antoine Wells and why in a receiver class that looks like it's going to have so much top end talent, like so many different guys that could potentially break out this year. Why is this a guy that you're looking at intensely this season?
Okay. Imagine a guy playing tight end that it is Olympic level sprinter, strong as an ox. Then imagine a 5-star quarterback. And then imagine a wide receiver who put up crazy numbers in the SEC in his first year in the SEC, coming from D2 ball, not D2, my bad, FCS ball. Transferred in, automatic impact, didn't score a touchdown at home, but made opponents' lives a living hell on the road, and even, helped them beat Clemson. I love Antoine Juice Wells. Yes, his nickname is Juice. Sick. And nicknames give you a boost in my book.
Jarvis Landry was juice. OJ Simpson was the juice. But
Okay.
all I'm
Okay.
saying, all I'm saying,
Unnecessary.
all I'm saying is we've had some guys who have been juices who have been good in the NFL. That was my only point. I was thinking of Jarvis Landry and like the receiver connection there, and then the other one just kind of came out. But yeah, keep going.
He has the potential to be the best wide receiver in the SEC this year. He has Spencer Rattler throwing to him. He has Nick Harbor as the other option on the other side. And the rest of their wide receiver room is just a bunch of like legit question marks. Like these guys could be really good. They could be really bad. They have a quarterback turned running back, turned wide receiver, turned quarterback, turned running back also on the roster. So their offense is a huge question mark with a new coordinator. Rattler is said to be balling out, which means Juice Wells is going to ball out. And I am so excited to watch him work. Listen, he's got reliable hands, great route running, decent athletic profile. But the thing that sets him apart really is the combination of hands and route running. Like, it's a rare combo that we don't see anymore. A lot of guys have these fancy routes, but they don't finish through the play, or they're just so athletic that they can beat everyone. He is your average box standard NFL athlete, probably at the wide receiver position. But he's going to be like a legit top end, again, just like Arnold, a legit top end number 2 in the NFL and rather quickly. And again, this is a guy who could be the best wide receiver in the SEC. Let me say that again. The best wide receiver in the SEC.
The best wide receiver in the best football conference. I mean, there's no going against those DBs that you have to play against in the SEC.
Exactly.
One of them we just mentioned.
And he has to play against Clemson. Like,
yeah,
which their defense is disgusting, and he made them
insane.
look silly at home. Like, that doesn't happen. So I'm really excited to see what Wells can do to take himself to the next level. He broke records at JMU. He's probably going to break records at South Carolina. And I think the guy is just a certified record breaker. So I really, really like Juice Wells' game.
Yeah, I mean, if it is a really exciting combo to see somebody who does have the hands and the route running as a combination, even though you think of it as such an old school game. It is something that we just don't see as much of now coming out of the draft. It's usually these athletic freak type of guys. So getting a guy who's going to kind of get that two of the three main things being like the route running, the hands, and the athletic traits, those two being the two that he already has, that's huge because it means that this is probably a really high floor player and somebody who can absolutely ball out this year, pretty much everything that you said. You have one more wide receiver on this list, and it's a Maryland guy. And it seems like this is more so a guy that you're excited to see for a few different reasons. So break down Tyrese Chambers and why this is your second receiver on this list.
So this guy is a transfer, right? There was going to be another transfer on this list, but the NCAA is stupid and they're making him sit out, and it's going to screw Drake May over. But I don't want to talk about that right now because it will make me sad because that guy could be a first round pick. But Tyrese Chambers, transfer, obviously, going to Maryland, playing with the other Tagovailoa, which might not bode well for him. But he's going to be a Senior Bowl guy, and that's exciting. Like, I think he should be a Senior Bowl guy. He plays the ball well in the air. He's making waves. He's going to be playing good competition. He's dangerous in space. Like, I don't think you'll understand when I say dangerous in space, the guy moves different. Tyler, you're a big move differently guy. We
I
need
am.
shirts. Hold on. We need shirts that say move differently. Okay.
Yes. Like
That's our
moves
marketing
different,
meeting for
move
the day.
different. Oh yeah.
That's
You're
our
getting a
marketing
little
meeting.
bit of the behind the scenes on this podcast because that is something that we both of us, and specifically me, we both say very, very often. But yeah, keep going with Tyrese Chambers.
He moves to Maryland for just his grad year. So it's going to be a one and done in Maryland. If he shows out, he's going to make waves. He's going to go to the Mobile. He's going to make waves in Mobile. He's going to go to the draft. He's going to go to the combine. He's going to make waves at the combine. He's going to make waves in the NFL. I'm just really excited to see what happens with this player because of the type of player that he is. Like, he's good in the air and good in space. Okay. Can he get to the point where he's separated? Like, his route running isn't awesome, but once he has the ball, he's dangerous. If he can get the route running, it's kind of wraps. Like, he's that good at everything else. And it didn't really affect him that he didn't have the route running because of the level he was playing at previously. But now, against better competition, what's he going to do? Like, what's the move for him? And that's really what I'm excited to watch.
Yeah. And I think a big thing, like you said, is this is the grad year, which makes this such a potential fun season for a guy who's like going into his last year. You know, it's a one and done type player. As a transfer, it could be like a big year, and somebody who kind of like you see contract years for, professional athletes. That's kind of what he's playing for right now, is the opportunity for a contract because he's playing for higher draft position, playing to make it to the league. So I think that is just another exciting element in a player that already is so exciting. And I'm looking here at the final name you have on your list. And I know this is a guy that we're both very excited about. And we've mentioned him previously in other episodes. We did a QB preview. We did another list of your guys. But this is a guy who it seems like, despite him being one of the highest rated recruits of all time, despite him performing well for stretches, this is somebody who's really being doubted amongst a list of, don't get me wrong, really great quarterbacks, but no definitive guy after Caleb Williams and Drake May, who, now being still an entire season away from this draft, look like the number one and number two. What is it that you see in Quinn Ewers that makes you think, hey, this guy could be the third guy who takes that step, and we're looking at this as a lockdown 1, 2, and 3?
Listen, I know this isn't like oh my guy, because the rest of these haven't really been guys that everyone's considering first round talents. But some people aren't considering Quinn Ewers a first round talent, and it blows my mind because when he was healthy against Alabama, he looked like a guy who could have gone in the first round of last year's draft. Like, this is a guy who, when he's playing his best, is on the level of these top, 1, 2, 3 pick quarterbacks. He just got to stay healthy, and he's got to prove he can do it for a full season. He's got to prove he can do it without Bijan Robinson. I know he can, and I know that offense is going to be very, very different this year. It is going to be more Tua-esque at
Yeah,
Alabama.
because with Sark, I mean, that's the thing that he does, is it's always
Yes.
catered to the skill set of the guys he has around. And when you have the best running back prospect we've seen since Saquon Barkley, you're going to give the ball to the best running back prospect we've seen since Saquon Barkley. And now He's
Exactly.
got the best player on his roster is Quinn Ewers when it comes to the offensive side of the ball, at least.
That Texas offense is going to be fun this year. The O line is a question mark. Can he work under the pressure of not having his number one, of not having an incredible line? I think it'll be good. I don't think it will be great. And I think there's going to be some growing pains early in the year. They have Alabama at Alabama this year, and early in the season.
That's exciting.
So it's going to be interesting. We're going to get to see Arnold and Kool-Aid and Turner and all of these guys go up against Quinn Ewers. Can he make them look silly like he did in the first half of that Alabama versus Texas game last year? That's really the question. Like, can he do it when the lights are on a Saturday night? You know what I'm saying? Like, can he do it all the time? And can he win the Big 12 this year? Like, can he get Texas to the playoffs? Can he take that jump to finally be the guy in Texas, the guy who brings them back? Because I think that'll be huge for his draft stock. Like, I know that's not,
Oh, for sure. I mean, whether we like to admit it or not, there is a bit of helmet scouting that goes on with every single prospect.
there's also vibe scouting.
Yeah, and if
Being the
there's
guy who brings them back,
being
that's
the guy
vibes.
who puts a team on the map again could be huge for a player's draft stock, especially when it is a team like Texas that has so much like older lore and like history as a program, and a team that has just been on the verge for so long, and everyone's like, oh, this is the year Texas is back, this is the year Texas is back, and we've done it with so many different guys. If you are the quarterback now in such a quarterback heavy offense who brings that team back and just kind of explodes and becomes potentially a Heisman candidate and is a guy who's putting them in playoff conversation late in the year, there is nothing bigger than that. And his stats will show it, the film will show it. And there's just no better combination for a guy like Ewers, who, like we said, is trying to become that third guy in this class.
Yeah, I don't think you could have said it better. Like, it's literally NFL scouts are still human, and
Yeah.
there's still people who love football. Like, that's what we have to remember. They are still human. They still love football. The vibes are there, and Quinn Ewers doesn't have any concerns, like off the field concerns or anything. There's nothing about that with him. Could we see listen, I don't want to say this. Could we see like a Johnny Football S takeover of the state of Texas and football in Texas this year?
100%.
Like,
It
it could
is
happen.
it is entirely a possibility. And I think that what makes it such a possibility is because of such a highly touted guy that Ewers was, like
And
him being,
Sark.
yeah, and Sark. But I'm saying, like, as far as Ewers, like him
Oh, yeah,
being
yeah, yeah.
such a highly rated recruit, him being the guy that was supposed to bring Texas back, he is the prodigal son down there. If he can come in and take this thing over, he will be the face of Texas football the same way Johnny Football was. And like, I know that we haven't talked about, I know that Johnny Football, obviously not a guy that worked out in the NFL, but we're not saying that about Ewers. We're just talking as far as, is this a guy that can straight up dominate
Take
this
over.
year? And it's 100% a possibility.
And then he sets it up for Arch Manning, who would come in the next year and be the starting quarterback as a sophomore. Like, this could be the thing that launches Texas.
Yeah. And it all it takes is one good season. We've seen with all these different programs, like the amount of recruiting that these teams get after one good season.
Look at
Being in
A&M.
it, look at FSU. FSU had their first
Exactly.
good season. They weren't expected to win more than maybe 6, 7 games. They go out and they win, I think it was 10. And now you're looking at that team as their number, I think, 8 in the polls. They just brought in a bunch of transfers, a bunch of recruits. And this wasn't a school that anyone thought was back. We were like talking about Mike Norvell as being a hot seat head coach. And now he's considered one of the best like program builders in the country right now. So all it takes is 1 year. And with Texas being that storied football program, I'm so excited to see if this is what launches them back into relevance.
All right. I'm done. That's it. You let me cook because you got a little bit of a sniffly, but
Yeah.
we cooked, we balled, and moved differently. Thank you for listening to our podcast. We appreciate you all. Have a great day. Have a good week. Get ready for football. We'll see you next week with another episode. And maybe we'll be better. Like, every week we're gonna try to improve. So have a great day.